Welcome to the OmniGamers Club podcast, the podcast for games on all platforms, including Giant Jenga. I am Daniel Winter.
And I'm Mark Yosa. Hello.
Hello, Mark. And we're very excited to have a special guest with us today. It's Joe, aka PhantomMeeple.
Hello, everybody. Glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for joining us, Joe. We wanted to do something a little bit different this episode and talk a little bit about our local tabletop convention, Terminal City. And since I didn't actually get to enjoy much of that from the since I was helping organize the show, I thought I'd get an extra voice on here to talk about their experience at the convention. Because you were up here joining us in Vancouver last weekend.
Yeah, I mean, any excuse to go up to the Great White North, I will take it. And Terminal City is definitely one of those excuses. It was my first time last year, had a blast, so had to come back and enjoy it once more.
Yeah, well, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself first, Joe?
Yeah, so for those who don't know me, of course, I am Joe, aka PhantomMeeple. I am a Twitch board game streamer. I do live plays and reviews on my Twitch channel. You can find me at PhantomMeeple everywhere the internet is sold. Not hard to find. Got really lucky with my username, and I'll gladly tell the story one of these days. It's a fun story, and I'd love to tell it. But yeah, that's me.
Excellent.
Yeah, I had fun. This has been several years for me for TCTC, but I just really enjoy watching it grow. I mean, you are a little bit biased, Daniel, because you help organize it, but I'm proud of the work you and the team are putting in it. You know, the Andreas, Dennis, all the volunteers are doing amazing work. Susie, hi. Shout out to Susie, who I saw many times on the show floor. And sadly, I only see once a year. I only see a bunch of you guys like you, Joe, only once a year. We saw awesome people like, so Anna Maria Phelps came up and is running her booth there. So exciting to see. There's really a lot. And you guys have kind of stepped up for the Shucks, the Shut Up and Sit Down Con, which was here for a number of years, but stopped a few years back. So I'm really impressed that you're the big con in town now in Vancouver.
Yeah, and so just full disclosure, I am one of the organisers. As a volunteer, I don't financially benefit from that at all, other than filling my heart and seeing everyone at the convention. It's a great opportunity to give back to the community and seeing everyone enjoy coming together. And this is our second year at the Vancouver Convention Center, right where Shucks used to be. And it's a beautiful location. It's a lovely view to spend all weekend indoors with the mountain view and the ocean right there at our doorstep.
And the sound of the seaplanes landing and taking off right on the steps from your door too. But it was pretty fun. Yeah, I'm really impressed by the space. It's a large area, lots of different attendees. There's a large RPG section, which takes up about a quarter of the floor space. Of course, open tables for gaming, and there's a stage. There's so much stuff. Vendors area. There's organized games. Like there was, 30 people playing Captain Sonar or something at the same time.
Yeah.
There's big games like Two Rooms and a Boom. There's areas for kids, and food vendors. So really, there's something for everything. There's of course the Proto Alley, where a lot of our local game developers and local regionally like Pacific Northwest came up to visit us as well. Hot Banana Game, Jake Cormier's Off the Page. Lots of great local representation there.
Yeah, so, Joe, you came up last year helping out a friend of the show, Anna Maria, with Violet Daisy. And this year you were just an attendee, right?
Yeah, it was really a different experience actually getting to enjoy a con for once instead of working it. I'll be honest, it's definitely a different experience being on like the staff worker volunteer side of a con, whereas your attention is towards that and not necessarily towards all the fun stuff you want to do, like play games and and walk through the vendors hall and everything. So I was up there with my partner Abby this year. They didn't get to come with me last year, but this year I basically got the ultimatum. It's like, I'm going with you, deal with it. So she came up and I was like, okay, I'm not going to work. We'll bring a bunch of our games that are, on our shelf of opportunity. I hate shelf of shame, but, people call it that too. But brought a bunch of games up, got a big chunk of them played. And we had a blast. And it was nice not to work a con for once. And I still got to see all my friends. So it was great.
Awesome. Yeah, I mean, I was particularly busy this year. We had double the capacity compared to last year. And some technical issues aside, didn't get much downtime. It was a pleasure to see everyone else getting to enjoy games. That's partly why I wanted to call you on here to get you some perspective on what it was like playing games. So we'll get to that list shortly. Was there anything else at the show that we wanted to run through? Personally, the one thing I did get to look through was the used game marketplace.
Yeah.
Mostly this year, my focus was actually on getting rid of games. I actually took in 25 or so games and got rid of all but 3 or so. So that was the biggest culling I've done in the history of my collection. I've got a few empty Kallax spaces now that are rapidly filling again. But yeah, that was good fun.
Congratulations.
I love going through the used market as well, because you never know what you're going to find there. And I went there with the intention of not bringing anything, because I'm much like your situation, Daniel. I have way too many games and not enough space to fill them, but you never know what you're going to find. So I came prepared this year, because last year I found that it was cash only. So when I bought stuff, I had to like run and find an ATM and grab cash. I came prepared, and I did find a few gems. So I was really satisfied with my walkthrough this year.
Very nice. What did you pick up?
So I found a copy of Thurn and Taxis with one of the expansions, and it's been out of print for ever and a day. And that was actually one of my Grail games. I've been looking for it for a while, and I got it for a song. So I was really, really happy to find that, along with an expansion. I was really surprised at the price it went for, because I went on eBay and I looked, and it was like going for like 150, 200 American just for the base game. And I got that in the expansion for like 50 Canadian. I'm like, okay, I would be silly not to buy this. So I swept that up. And then I found a used copy of Pret-a-Porter 3rd edition, and I've wanted to play that game forever. And again, that was like 20 Canadian. So I'm like, okay, I can't walk away with those cheap prices. So I was very thrilled with what I found. Yeah,
some great bargains there. I picked up a few bargains last year, and this year was offloading those games. So hey, I got a game to try for the year. I got my pay out of it and then send it back again. But I did pick up a couple of little games. One was behind me here. What is it? BattleCon, Devastation of the Indines. There's about 4 different versions of that game, so I wasn't entirely aware of what version I was getting when I picked that up. Apparently, it's one of the better ones to start with. But having just picked up Millennium Blades recently, also from Double 99 Games, I'm sort of curious to explore that universe.
Nice. Seems like you guys got some deals. I haven't been getting a lot of games this past year. I've been more focused on RPGs. So I was pleased to find a few good items in the sale booth. On the first or second day, I got this really sweet book I have had my eye on for a while. This is the Coyote and Crow RPG system, which is, very relevant for us here in the Canadian West, Pacific Northwest area. It's basically a TTRPG where basically North America was never colonized, and it's cyberpunk too. So it's like futuristic, cool aspect there. I got this for a song as well. I think it's retail, like, regular big book price hardcover, $80 US or whatever. I got it for 25 Canadian dollars.
Oh, good
So
deal.
yeah, that's like pocket change territory there. So I was very pleased about that. And then another item, the cool thing about the used game area is this is kind of a game in itself, because they do it like I think it's called a Dutch auction, where the price starts high, and then over the course of 2.5 days, the price gets lower and lower. So you're basically gambling that the game is going to still be there, with the potential that you might get the cheapest price possible. The other bundle I had my eye on was this set of Star Trek Adventures role-playing game material. I knew that I had the core book of this already, so I already knew going in that I would have to get this book over to someone else who wants it in their collection. But I got the GM's panel here, GM screen, and then I opened it up because they were all bundled in tape, right? You guys saw the bundles of the huge stacks of tape sometimes. I couldn't really see what was inside it. I assumed it was a bunch of map packs. It was another GM screen. So now I have
wow.
2 GM screens.
Head-to-head GMs.
2 GM screens and 2 core rule books. So anyone out there in the audience is interested in role playing in the Star Trek universe, give me a holler because I have doubles.
Yeah, well, having a spare copy means you get to force it onto someone else and make them GM it for you, I guess.
Yeah, I definitely should because I'm a fan. I actually met another Star Trek fan in the RPG area, so I'm going to reach out to them and we're going to talk.
Nice. Yeah, there wasn't a lot of TTRPG things in the used marketplace, and most of what was there was very spread out. It was hard to find. I'd like to see more focus on that, but I don't think that TTRPG fans are that invested in like selling on their stuff. It doesn't take as much space for one thing, I guess. But yeah, that was a little more one-sided towards board games. That part.
That's for sure. Yeah,
I could definitely see that because as far as like a TTRPG goes, you got a GM screen, maybe a handful of books. It's like you said, it's not a huge investment of space.
I did mean to ask Joe, like, where do you fall on the omnigaming spectrum?
Yes.
All of the above? Okay.
Yes. I've only been heavy into board games probably the last 8 or 9 years. Prior to that, very heavy on the video game scene. I grew up playing Atari 2600, 7800, and then, just went through the generations from there through, NES, SNES, and all that. So heavy video gamer. But yeah, my foray into board games is still relatively new in my life.
Excellent. Do you play any TTRPGs?
Whenever I can. See, the thing is with TTRPGs, you actually have to have the people to play them.
And time management.
That's always and time management. So that's the hardest thing. But when I was in junior high, I did have a D&D 3.5 group, so I'm very familiar with that system. I still prefer it. Not saying that 5th edition is not great. I've played and tried 5th edition. I think it cleaned up a lot of things that were, I don't want to say wrong with 3.5, but it definitely simplified and cleaned them up. But I guess I'm just stubborn when it comes to preference. And yeah, just if anybody wants to play 3.5 with me, I am 100% game. But I do keep on top of TTRPGs. Actually, I just got the deluxe player set of the Final Fantasy 14 TTRPG.
Oh.
It's a gorgeous set, and I mostly wanted it for the math rocks because they are pretty. But I am also an avid Final Fantasy 14 MMO player, so the fact that there's a TTRPG now, I'm like, okay, this is something I would love to have on hand, and maybe get a few people to actually try it.
And you've got Final Fantasy coming to Magic the Gathering very shortly, I think, too. So they're covering all ends of the spectrum there.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I've dabbled in TCGs. It's not my cup of tea because it's a very expensive hobby to keep up. I mean, not saying that board gaming doesn't have its own price, but I think the maintenance of a trading card game is a lot more than you buy a board game and say it doesn't get any expansions, like you have something forever, whereas TCGs evolve and get new cards every so often. So if you want to keep up with it, I mean, you got to pay the price for it.
Yeah, maintenance is a good word. You have to keep paying more money. That's the problem.
Yeah,
exactly.
There is a meta. And, a lot of people believe that when a game is discontinued, it's dead, which is really strange because there's nothing saying you can't keep playing a TCG forever if you have the material there and an interesting audience. So I think it's a real shame when TCGs die too young.
Oh, 100%. Like, I remember, I think it was maybe 15, 20 years ago, there was a Star Wars TCG that's, I know people still play it and have cards in like pristine condition, and it was a good game. I enjoyed it, but it did not last very long.
Well, knowing Star Wars, there's always going to be a new there's always going to be a new Star Wars card game coming up in the next couple of years, right?
Well, there's been one just came out last year, I think, right?
Yeah, that's right. That license will always have a game going for it.
Oh yeah.
So we'll move this along a little bit. Before we jump into the actual games you played, though, was there anything else? I'm curious, did anyone check out any of the panels? This was the first year that we had panels at TCTC.
I didn't get a chance to check out panels. Tell you the truth, I didn't know there were panels because, much like you said, it's the first year you had it. But now that I know, I'll probably be up there next year. I'll definitely check out some. But yeah, I had no idea that y'all had panels.
Yeah, it's a great move, I think. I definitely caught a number of the panels at Shucks when it was in town, but I guess I didn't really know that was coming up too. And my priority when the schedule came up was filling up those RPG slots. So big chunks of my time were taking up in the RPG area. I was hardly able to stay on top of those, so sadly I wasn't able to catch any of the talks.
Okay, well, making notes, advertise the panels more, I guess.
There you go.
I would definitely add that to the notes because, yeah, like I said, I had no idea there were like I know y'all had a main stage, but what was there, I had no clue.
That's very fair. Duly noted. But there was a couple of talks I was very curious to check out. I'm hoping will be available later. There was one, actually, a round table hosted by UBC, basically from a group of Indigenous game designers and the various perspectives that I'm quite curious to check out. I'm on friendly terms with a couple of the people talking there. So, yeah. There was, what else did we have? There was an actual play. I saw a bunch of Dungeons & Dragons players in full costume heading out of an actual play there. It's like a lot of fun. So, yeah, a little bit of everything.
I think the retail area, the vendor area, was a real highlight for me. I mean, it's always good, but this year felt especially good. There was a nice balance of vendors of different types. I think holding down the fort, of course, was Rain City Games, our friendly local game store, which Daniel and I, we certainly frequent. Adventure Dice, which has been a good stalwart also of the local gaming community, was there. And I picked up a full retail book, this Unbound RPG from Rowan, Rook, and Descartes. I learned about it at the con, and I picked it up right away. So thanks to, I think it was the GM, I was playing the Spire, one session of the Spire, from Rowan, Rook, and Descartes. So happy to pick that up there. It was inexpensive. This game, very exciting, is a card-based RPG where you modify your deck. Each player has a deck that they modify as they play the game. Kind of like I don't know, Slay the Spire, but it's an RPG. Yeah, so that's really cool. And then there was a wide variety. Like there was that booth we talked to with who was it?
So it was Watcher DM. To Gabriel there, who was running a booth called Compose Dream, which I wasn't familiar with. But it's basically they distribute indie RPGs throughout Canada and the UK, I think. But they had a selection of like smaller zines, like a lot of Mothership modules. They had a few of the projects from Mothership Month that we were talking about recently. I picked up one of those, and a bunch of other smaller zine projects, which is always fun to see those getting some more love in sort of physical presence. And yeah, it's always interesting that the vendors is one area of the convention that's always leaning a little more towards the TTRPGs. There's like a lot of dice, a lot of dice trays, obviously, and those zine books are always fun.
Bags. Everyone wants their role-playing accessories. Well, my youngest I took both of my kids this year. They're 10 and 13. And my oldest has always been into games, but I was very happy and appreciative to see how much my youngest got into it as well. I just took them for a couple of hours. We mostly went around the vendors area, played like one brief card game with them. But my youngest was really happy to see the kind of 3D printed dragons and dragon eggs and things. Did you see those on the con floor?
Yeah, I actually took my daughter there for the first time. It was her first game convention, and she also bought a couple of 3D printed things. But there was also, like, in the family area, they had some giant games. Like they had Giant Connect 4 and Giant. It was like Jenga. No, it was Tetris. It's like Jenga Tetris, basically. Like these giant Tetris blocks that you're trying to stack and without falling off. So you had a lot of fun with that, much to the annoyance of all the TTRPGs on the other side of the curtain there, apparently.
The clattering of those blocks was pretty distracting in a really tense, dramatic moment, let me tell you. But I think friend of the show, Dennis Ryan, another local guest that's been on before, also handmade a version of Oink Games' Deep Sea Adventure.
Yes.
Out of cardboard. And it was like
fun.
Larger than life. It was really a treat to see that as well.
Yes, he was our master of giant games, and it was running a bunch of special events and like a Catan tournament at the show.
Yep, great work you're doing there, Dennis.
So, shall we jump into some games and not drag
Let's
this out
do
any
it.
longer?
Yeah, let's do.
Who wants to start? As I said, I played very little. I played a few light card games, did play one game with you, Joe, which we'll get to. But mostly, I'm just here to facilitate hearing what you played.
Yeah, why don't we finish off with the game we all played together? Because I'm sure we'll have lots to talk about there. Joe, you have a few games that you played, so why don't you start us off as our guest?
Yeah. Okay. So I'll go with the game I played with Daniel last. That way we can banter about it. But I will start with SETI from CGE. I will say big thanks to CGE. They actually gave me that as a review copy back at PAX Unplugged. So big shout out to them for that. I actually learned it last month when I was on a work trip to Hawaii, and I don't know if you're familiar with Legends DM Daniel from Twitch, but yeah, I every time I go to Hawaii, I always try and see him because he is an amazing person, and he taught me SETI, and I absolutely loved it. So I'm like, oh great, now I don't need to read the rule book; I already know this game. So took that up to TCTC, and I taught Abby, and they are big on, big chunky Euro games, and they really wanted to dig into games that, wasn't going to be quick, and SETI was a huge hit. So we were setting up, and we actually had another player join us. Somebody just walking by is like, hey, what's this game? I'm like, hey, sit down, we'll teach you. It's a huge hit. It's the best way to describe SETI is like, it's like Lost Ruins of Arnak in space on steroids is probably the best way to describe it, because it's kind of the same premise. Like you have your board, you're scanning for signals to try and find the extraterrestrial life. You have the multi-use cards that are for a multitude of different actions. You have a bunch of different tracks that you're upgrading your equipment and spending to do that. Just really, really fun, really chunky game, and I'm really glad that it was kind of a departure to what CGE normally does. They even admitted that SETI was heavier than what they usually do, but I think they had a home run with this game, and I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Yeah, I think this might be the game I saw played the most at the convention. It was very popular. That and probably Wormspan, I think, was the other one. But I haven't had a chance to play this. It's very high on my list to check out. I was a big fan of their last game, the Horror.
Yeah,
one of their last games. Yeah, this is a much more big sprawling game. Am I misunderstanding, or is it like is there a layer of like deduction here? Am I thinking of like Search for Planet X?
No, there's no layer of deduction, but you kind of. It's interesting in the fact that the let me step back a little bit. So the way the game works is you're basically running a supercomputer, and you're scanning the universe trying to find signals of extraterrestrial life. However, the game makes you do a little bit of everything, because the way it works is you have 7 different actions you could do, and one of those actions is scanning sectors of the galaxy to try and find these signals. And by scanning these signals so much, there's a little area control element involved. So whoever has the most scanning in a sector, once all the data is found and collected, that person not only scores victory points, but they get a segment of life. And there's 3 different kinds of life. There's red, yellow, and blue. You can only get red from scanning the galaxy. You can only get yellow from landing probes on planets, and you can only get blue by processing the data you get from scanning. So you have to do a little bit of everything. But once an initial red, blue, and yellow is found, you turn over one of the 5 random life forms that are found, and it adds another element to the game, because each extraterrestrial life has its own set of rules of how it intricates into the game. So I really like that. Not only is the setup of the galaxy variable, but the fact that you're only going to have 2 out of 5 life forms in the game. So your play strategy could change midway through depending on what comes out.
Be a fun way to expand the game too, by the sound of it. Everyone's really keen for more alien species in that game.
Easily expandable. Like you could come up with another 5 species in a small pack, and easily like that game is forever expandable, just for the fact that it's always going to be two different alien life forms, and you just shuffle up the boards and pick two, and you don't know what they are until you discover.
Yeah, it definitely feels like it sounds like the kitchen sink school of design, much like Arnak, which I found a little bit. Like, we covered Arnak, was our very first game, and I felt like it was a little light in how it did. Each element was a little bit underbaked, to be honest. Mm-hmm. So when a game tries to do too many things, sometimes they don't entirely come together. But this one sounds particularly interesting. I'm still very keen to check it out.
Yeah, it's different from Arnak, whereas you kind of have to pay attention to the research track because that's where like the meat and potatoes of the game is. But the fact that you have the incentive of scanning so much and getting data, and then collecting that data to get the other form of life that you need, so you have to do a little bit of everything. You can't just have one particular strategy, because you're going to miss out on so much other stuff.
Very cool. Yeah, well, hopefully Mark and we can find a copy of that soon.
It's funny that you say you saw it as the most played game. When Abby and I were playing it, there was actually halfway through our game, somebody set up a copy of SETI just to the left of us. So it was great having two games going on at the same time. People walking by, they're like, wow, they're playing the same game.
It definitely seems to be the hotness right now. That's cool to see. I would agree.
Okay, Mark, do you have a game you would like to talk about?
Yeah, I'm going to play a game on the totally opposite end of the spectrum to the new hotness. Mine is a slightly older game, and it's a lot smaller. The box is certainly smaller. This is a tiny little game from Oink Games out of Japan, which I had yet to try. It's called Scout from 2019. Mm-hmm. It's by designers Kei Kajino. It's a hand management ladder climbing card game, and this was the very first time I had played it. It's been on my to-play list for quite some time.
I played it quite a lot at last TCTC.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I this is the game I picked up to play with my kids. So we took it out of the lending library there. It's very easy to do. I just left my ID card in the little Rolodex, and I got to walk away with the game. We played it. It was a little bit confusing to learn the game from scratch based off of the rules, but I think we got it going, and I think we played it mostly according to the rules. Let's see if I can remember them correctly. So the cool aspect of this game is, like a game like Bonanza, another famous light strategy card game, is that you are not allowed to reorder the sequence of cards in your hand. I think at times you're allowed to maybe flip the cards in your hand.
Once at the start of the round, I think, right?
Round,
yeah.
Right.
But basically, you can't reorder the orientation of the cards from left to right, and that's part and parcel to the strategy of the game. You're essentially scouting, which is like picking up cards, or showing, which is laying down sets of cards.
It's a card shedding game. You want to get rid of your hands, right?
Yeah. And you want to get them down on the board, and you get negative points for the cards that are left in your hand. So really light, low stakes. I thought it was a good balance of game to play with my family of kids, and I wasn't disappointed. It was pretty pleasant. I got into the flow of things. I got how there's a sort of a loop, right, of showing and getting cards out of your hand, which creates new sequences when the gap closes between the cards that are in your hand, and you see much more potential. Really a nice, light, ingenious game. Reminded me a little bit of Sea Salt and Paper, not so much in mechanics, but in terms of weight of game.
Yeah, it's interesting because I really enjoyed it. It is a relatively light game, but I've struggled to learn it. I just remember playing it at, I think it was PAX the previous year. Amanda Panda taught it to us, and I just could not get my head around these rules. I think you really need, maybe it's just the convention brain, but you really need someone with a clear sense of internalizing and explaining how the sets of cards work. It is a very simple game, but because there's no theme, it's just cards with numbers on it. There's nothing to really grab hold of and to sort of internalize the theme of the game and to frame your understanding, right?
Yeah. What do you think, Joe?
There is a theme, although it is very, very lightly painted on. Basically, you're scouting people to perform in a circus. That's the whole premise of the game. But it's not overtly there. If you look at the cards, you can see each one has a name and a performer of what they do. But
the nines of crowns or something.
Or no, it's an actual name of somebody and what they do.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
But other than that, it is completely just oblivious if you're not looking for it. It's just, as you said, cards with numbers. whether you have them right side up or the other side, since they're dual purpose. But yeah, it's a very, very fun game. It's easy to learn but hard to master. I think that's the best way to describe it.
Yeah, and I figured that this game wasn't going to be like a big, deep, rich game, but I feel like it has just enough of a mechanism to make you think. Basically, when you take cards out of your hand to show them, obviously you're creating new sets. But when you pick up a card, and you can only pick up a card from either the very left or the very right side of the cards you have splayed down, I think. And then now you can put that in a new spot in the sequence, which once again you can't reorder. So this is the way that you get to reorder, per se, is by like carefully crafting a sequence. And I feel like that makes you feel, at least thematically, like, oh, I'm the impresario, I'm the showman. I'm like, what's his name from The Greatest Show?
Oh, Hugh Jackman. Yeah.
I'm Hugh Jackman in The Greatest Showman, and I'm putting on my awesome show.
I certainly did feel like that when I played a hand of like 7 cards in one game, and won the game in like just dropped my whole hand in one go.
Oh, that's impressive. I think the most I've ever played at one time is 5. I've never gotten like a huge, just run of 7 before, but that's impressive.
Yeah, that part was a little bit unclear because all the examples had like 2 or 3 cards. So I didn't really. We played for a long time saying, oh, you can only do sets of 3 cards at most. And then I think slowly throughout, I realized that you could do more. So yeah, lots to learn there. But I think it's a great light to medium weight family game to just, as a time. Something to kill time. It's really nice and pleasant.
We have found the rules to Oink games being a little bit too brief. They could be a little more elaborate in some of the examples, I think. We had, what was it, Maskmen? I think we had a lot of trouble with.
God, Maskmen. Oh, that game, it's so good, but the rules are written in Greek.
We played it like 5 times, and every game we got this rule wrong. No, wait, we got this rule wrong. Wait.
It's probably the translation factor.
Yeah. So fun quick story about Maskmen. So I was at PAX U last year, and Jess CCG picked up a copy because she thought it looked interesting, and it took between me, Jess's husband, Randy Flynn, game designer, if you all know him, of Cascadia.
Cascadia,
one other person. So 4 of us. Yeah, Daniel. And the 4 of us could not figure out these friggin' rules. It was just ridiculous. But I think Jess's husband finally figured it out, and he retaught it to me at OrcaCon this last couple months ago.
It's a good game. It's a good game.
It's fantastic once you know how to play it.
Yeah.
Yeah, this game is a big enough hit that I think I've seen it at Targets. It's in, Oink games come in that lovely little, really compact, really iconic packaging. But they put it in this terrible flat pack of basically like Uno style.
Yeah.
It was really, really sad.
I had a huge bone to pick with that. Like at first I'm like, oh, this is great. This is, I don't want to say obscure game, but for lack of a better term, like this game that isn't necessarily, mass market, say like Uno or something like that. But yeah, the packaging, I'm like, what are you doing? Like you can't store anything in there, because I'm sure it still comes with like all the chits and everything, but you have this just terrible Uno style box. Like, what are you supposed to do with that?
Yep, just wrecked it. So I'm going to go to Japan this summer, and I'm looking forward to, picking up all the great Japanese games there, small size, obviously. So if you guys got some recommendations, I'd love to hear it. And Scout's definitely going to be on the list.
Oh, absolutely. I was actually in Yokohama last year, and I picked up a handful of games. So I could probably give you some recommendations.
Awesome. Love to hear it. All right. Should we send it back to you, Joe, or Daniel, you want to represent on a game?
Joe, you take it off.
Sure. So next one I want to talk about, this is one of the games that was in the Proto Alley, Chicken Fried Dice, by Ashwin Kamath and his, I forget his co-designer's name. Rob Newton, that's right. Yeah. I have wanted to play his game for like the last 4 conventions. And again, like I said, I was always working, so I would walk by him, I'd see him do demos, and I'm like, yeah, I'll come by when I have a moment, and I never got a chance. So knowing that he was at Terminal City, I'm like, Abby and I walk by, and I'm like, all right, like we're sitting down, we're finally playing this game, and I absolutely fell in love with it. It is such a simple take on a roll and write, but the fact that everybody's doing things at the same time has that competitive element to it. I thought it was a really, really unique way to do a roll and write, and I am very excited for when this game comes to Kickstarter. I think he's got a hit on his hands.
Yeah, I had a chance to play this at PAX, and luckily I did, and I chat quite a bit to Robin and Ashwin at the convention here. But yeah, it's very simple, like matching up numbers and increasing consecutive numbers and dice placement, basically. It's sort of game where you could easily be completely deterministic and optimize every single choice, except the moment you throw in is real time and it's everyone's grabbing dice at the same time, and it is just free for all. So you're constantly having to scramble and grab what you can. So yeah, really, really tight little game. I'm excited to see it evolve, and I think coming to Kickstarter later this year.
Yeah, I think Ashwin said this summer he's looking to launch it, so coming relatively soon.
Yeah, and great art too, I will say. I've been giving some recommendations for other animals I'd like to see in the game.
Yeah, that's
the game.
It's very cute.
Seems to come a long way. We got Daniel and I got to see this game down in Bellingham, Washington, when we were down for a local sort of indie game showing there with Anna Maria and Violet Daisy Games. I think Emma Larkins was showing off her game at the time there, so we were very lucky to get to see that, and happy to see the guys really pushing this game and getting some notoriety. So that's really cool.
Yeah, I'm very happy for them.
I've still not had a chance to try Violet Daisy's new game, the Popcat Fighters, unfortunately.
Oh, Popcat! If you get a chance to play Popcats, that's going to be another one. I got to play it, I think, 2 or 3 OrcaCons ago when it was still an idea that Estefania had when she was still working for Funko at the time, and she didn't know what to do with this game, but she had it. It was, just this fully fledged prototype, and I really, really liked it. She's like, yeah, it's still looking for a home, and I'm really glad that Violet Daisy is taking the reins on that, because that's going to be another, I think, sleeper hit.
Yeah, I think that one's coming to Kickstarter soon too. They're starting to ramp up on that, so keep an eye out for it. Okay.
All right, we'll definitely be promoting that when it's time to share the news. Okay, I guess we'll go back to me. I'll talk about a game that I played from the RPG side of the table. So I played 3 RPGs at my time there across the 2.5 days. I'm not going to mention them all because I think they're all worthy games to talk about at length. I'm just going to mention the first one because I had the most notes about it. The game is called Arc Doom. And I believe it's from Exalted Funeral. And there's a few things that are interesting about this game. It's by a woman designer who did the game rules, the book, the layout, and the art. The art is really impressionistic and fantastic in this game. It's, I believe her real life name is Bianca May Canosa, but her web handle is Mometos. And this game is really cool. Basically, it has no defined setting except for the world is in a sort of a cataclysm. There's a world-ending cataclysm going on. And the GM, Leo, who ran it, we had basically a 3.5-hour session. And he, I think he had an original setting, and the setting was something like we were time travelers from the future where the Lord, what was it? The Shakespeare, the cursed play Macbeth, right? Macbeth. It was set in that Macbeth went on to become this immortal time lord or something like that, and ruled over this dark apocalyptic campaign.
They've probably done that in Doctor Who at some point, right?
Right. Yeah. It's typical.
That's plausible.
Typical storyline. So we had to go back into the past and stop Macbeth from getting into power. And so it was kind of cool because, strangely enough, all of us at the table knew Macbeth. We're all, I don't know, RPGers and English lit majors or something, or some decent amount of overlap there. So really cool things about this game. Innovative dice system. You roll low. And so the target number being high is good. So the target number is based on what your approach is like basically your attributes plus your any relevant skills. So you're always aiming to shoot low, and I think you just roll d6, and if one of them hits the number, you're good. But another cool aspect of this game is there's lots of cool special abilities for your character. And this game, we basically did it with all different approaches. We were all kind of different kinds of scoundrels, I guess. Like one of the characters sitting next to me to my left was a monk. I was like this scoundrel. There was a noble lady, and then there was like a knight's guard or something like that.
Were you
And
playing characters from Macbeth, or were you coming in as like spectators, like Sliders style or something?
Yeah, we were basically like Sliders style. We were like Elizabethan style characters
Okay.
that just kind of slipped in and knew the material. So we could kind of sneak in at the right moments. We knew about the witches. We knew about, Duncan. We knew about all these characters and Lady Macbeth and this and that. So we can sort of like break the time barrier. And most of this game, there was no fisticuffs. There was no fights. There was no swords. There was no, opportunity attacks, anything like that. There was no initiative. It was all like social. It was all social engineering.
Barbed words, I imagine.
Yeah. Well, there was like lots of sneaking. Like we snuck into the military camp, and I tried to sway the military against Macbeth because our only goal was get this guy out of power. Obviously, the most clear example is just you kill the guy, right? Kill the guy, it's done. But we were trying to get him embarrassed, or we were trying to ruin his name, or we were trying to take Lady Macbeth off the case or something like that. So basically, this game was super cool. I loved how it was not your typical RPG system or setting, and it gave a really strong opportunity for what I would call like social combat, like being able to take down a problem using ideas and words. And we basically I think the final boss that we ended up beating was Lady Macbeth, and we just took her ambition level down from 150 to she was whimpering at the end, saying basically we mean girled her. We mean girled her into giving up her ambitious plans, and that was how we won the day. So what better an RPG could there be if you're tired of slamming orcs with, whatever, shields and maces? I had a lot of fun. That's Arc Doom by Exalted Funeral.
Very cool, yeah. Playing in sort of public domain license like that is quite interesting as a sort of a common point of reference. Everyone will have some familiarity with the story without having to do a whole bunch of lore and world building.
Yeah, the GM was, I don't know, maybe I take a point of pride in how our group came together. It was actually a really good, willing and able group. We were all very flexible and very welcoming and open to each other's ideas. The GM said that we were the first and only group he ran that didn't end up killing someone. So it goes to show you can handle things a lot of different ways.
There are fates worse than death.
That's amazing.
Right. Well, Shakespearean stories, dying is like the simplest solution, right?
Good out easy.
Yeah. Anyways, Arc of Doom, super cool system. I'd definitely like to play it again.
Very cool. Okay, I just wanted to quickly mention that one game I did play a little bit of at the show was The Gang, which I did give a review of last episode, but I played it a couple more times with you, I think, Mark. I don't think with you, Joe, but taught a few new people, and it's a game where I can see once you play it with the same people over and over again, it might get a little stale. Maybe you figure out a system. Maybe it's going to get a little bit repetitive. Much like a couple of conventions ago, we played a lot of Cat in the Box, where I can see it getting stale, but every time you teach it to a new group of people and seeing their minds blow, it's like, oh, I get it now. It's a really fun game to teach and to see everyone's learning arc as they get on board with the game. Joe, have you played The Gang at all?
It is one I have wanted to play. I have not had a chance to play it yet. I just hope I get an opportunity because I I liked playing Texas Hold'em in when I was in the military. It was a weekend occurrence, and the fact that this is a cooperative poker game, I was already thrilled with the concept. So hopefully I'll get to play it one day. I've heard nothing but good things.
Yeah, and I heard some friends anecdotally say that they've tried playing it with other forms of poker. I can't remember what the names are, but if it gets stale, you can just change up the format you're playing with, right?
That's kind of cool. This was my second time playing the gang with a different group, and I got to say, it played totally different from how it played in the home group at your place, Daniel. The group makes the game because it's a game about communication. It's not really a game about poker, and kind of just the subtleties of the different approaches really brought out like people's personality, people's personalities. Some people are really sure, or some people are hesitant. Some people think they got something really good and overvalue or undervalue. So yeah, it's a excellent opportunity for communication. And poker isn't really the core of it. It's just a communication game.
Yeah,
Quite
and
cool.
they're trying to learn how reading everyone's differing understanding of odds. Basically, is the key to the game.
Right, because like Texas Hold'em, it's quite possible that everyone's gonna have a full house, right? Just the way the cards are dealt.
Very, very possible.
Very cool. Okay, Joe, do you have any other games like to shout out?
Yeah, so let's talk about one more. So, Daniel, we can actually, get some of your opinions on this one. The one game that you actually did get to play, and I'm really thrilled that you invited Abby and I to play because we actually just got our copy in today.
Ooh.
Molly House.
Yes.
Yeah, I was very excited when Abby backed this game because the premise is amazing. Like, I mean, Whirly Good Games already does amazing work with historical properties, and the fact that they chose to do a 1800s queer focused game really touched me in a great way. And playing it, they really put a lot of love and care into this game, and it's just fantastic. And it was really sad that we all got hung in the end.
Yes, yeah, it was. We had a little too much fun, unfortunately. It's such a really specific setting that I was really fascinated by. This sort of, it's not trying to be an educational game, but it does. Like I was not familiar with this time period, and it has something very specific to say about the community and that place. So yeah, I guess for those not familiar, it's the Molly houses are basically the sort of the queer gathering spots in the early 1800s London, and you're managing the. You basically, there's no victory points. You're earning joy basically by getting together, having parties. You're earning joy both collectively and individually. But if you draw too much suspicion to yourself, they're going to be raided and taken down, and potentially you're going to get hung because that was very much outlawed at the time. The most curiously, there is a sort of betrayal mechanic, but it's not like you're assigned that you're a betrayer. You basically have to choose. It is actively a choice that you're going to betray everyone at the table, which, of course, none of us did because it's so much more loaded when it's a conscious choice. It's like, well, I can see that breaking out of the magic circle of the game and have some hard feelings there.
Yeah, I almost wish at the end that I did wind up being an informer because I wanted to, but at the same time, I'm like, no, this is the first play. Like we're trying to win, and yeah, it did not work out that way at all.
Well, thank you for being so patient with learning it, because it is a tough game to learn. Reading through the rules did not equip me. I had to basically sit there and talk out the rules as we went through it. It is quite no, I want to say fiddly. It's very thematic, and once you understand the rules, that theme does come across very well. But there's a lot of sort of cause and effect, conditional statements. If this happens, then you draw this many cards. If this happens, you draw this many cards. That's hard to internalize. We have to run through the chart every time we hit this certain phase. So it's a little unwieldy. I don't really feel equipped to give even my first impressions yet. I want to play a few more times. It is very compelling, I will say.
Yeah, I'm kind of the same way. I want to play it a handful more times before I really, dive deep into what I think about it,
Mm.
but I can at least give a first impression from at least a first playthrough standpoint. It's very much a like the epitome of a semi-cooperative game, because like you said, you are collecting a community joy score that everybody has to meet before one person can be declared the winner at the end of the game should you meet the threshold. But if you don't, everybody loses. Or if all the houses get raided and somebody winds up being an informer, yes, you lose all your joy, but you're still scoring more after that and still have the potential to win. So the fact that there's many paths to victory, and the fact that you could be working with everybody at the beginning of the game, and a house gets raided, you declare your loyalty or not, and then at the end of the game you flip over the tokens, like, oh, one person's an informer, well, I guess they're gonna win now. It's that sense of, are you a betrayer or not? Like, I think the mystique behind that really makes this a game that you would want to go back to time and time again, because you can play it so many different ways.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be. You're going to understand those implications a lot more with multiple playthroughs. Like I couldn't get a sense, like, is it worth it for me to betray everyone? Because the if then what points I get wasn't exactly clear from the first from the get go. So yeah, definitely keen to revisit that. But it's such a emotional game in how it projects the sort of the paranoia. And as you're moving around and trying to prevent those informant cards, and yeah, it has a rich sense of just emotional resonance I found that's playing with there. So yeah, keen to play more Molly House.
Yeah, same.
Mark, any other games you'd like to shout out?
Yeah, there are other games I played. Like I said, the RPGs I could talk at length about. So I think we should probably turn to the game that I definitely know the three of us played together. But I'm going to just quickly mention the other games I played just by name. I played some Roll for the Galaxy, a classic game just to get us started with some good old friends, Kennedy Goodkey and Mark Ellis from previous episodes of some friends of the show of the omnigamersclub podcast as well. Played a game by local designer called Reforest. It's the game by I forget his name, but he's the designer of Downstream, I believe.
Yes,
if I'm not mistaken. Reforest has a nice kind of like light wingspan style aspect to it, with its tableau building and kind of comboing of actions. Daniel, you and I played a game of courtesans, not courtesans. And it was, interesting, but I think, like you said, we're going to have to play it with a larger group to see sort of more.
It doesn't really shine at two players.
Yeah, for sure. The other couple of RPGs I played were, once again, I mentioned The Spire from Rowan, Rook, and Descartes. Really enjoyed that one. A great game about basically rebelling, raging against the machine, which is certainly relevant in this day and age. And the game I capped it off with, the RPG I finished the last day with, was Ironsworn Starforged, which I have a number of books for, but this was the first time I played it, from Tompkin Press and Modifius, and this game was fantastic. This is a very cool game that you can play. Well, the first Ironsworn is available for free. You can get it as a PDF from Tompkin Press website, from itch.io, for free, absolutely. That's his fantasy version of the setting. This one is the sci-fi version. This game can be played as a group, GM-led. It can be played GM-less, as in, Daniel, you, me, and Joe can play without a GM. And we can basically roll dice to see what the sort of the twists and turns of the plot are. Or you can also play it entirely solo, as a sort of a journaling type experience, rolling dice to determine, or flipping cards to determine sort of, what the twists and turns of your fate are. So very flexible, cool system.
I've mostly heard it marketed as solo, and I've been quite interested to check it out. So I'm particularly keen to hear how that one went as a group, but maybe you can save that for another episode.
Yeah, I think you and I should play it together.
Definitely interested in that.
Yeah. So those were the other games I played. What do you think, guys? Should we talk about Flip 7?
Yeah.
Oh yes, Flip 7.
Yeah,
that game was the bane of my existence.
How many people do you think we played with at that big table?
Oh,
We were pretty maxed
12,
out.
12 or
Yeah.
13, I think.
I think it goes
Yeah.
up to 14 players max, but I think someone had said with more, if you get like 2 decks, you could easily expand that.
Right. So who wants to describe this game?
I don't know. Am I going to be nice, or am I going to be just completely slam this game? No, I'll be nice. So Flip 7 frustrates me to no end because I have never won this game. I've never gotten 7 cards, and damned if I do, damned if I don't. But Flip 7, it's an interesting take. Best way to describe it is like Blackjack 21, with the exception is that you have a deck of cards. Cards are numbered 0 to 12, and that amount of cards are in the deck. Like there's 1 0, 1 1, and then 2 2, so on and so forth. Everybody starts out with one initial card, and then you go around the table whether you want to hit or stay. If you stay, you get that amount of points. But anytime you get a duplicate of a card that you already have, you're out of the hand. You lose all your points. There's also cards that you can play on somebody to freeze and take them out of the round. There's second chance cards, which if you get a duplicate, you can toss it away and stay in the game. Or there's also Flip 3 cards that you can either play on yourself or make somebody else flip 3 cards. And the goal of the game is to get 200 points. But if you get 7 cards in front of you, the round immediately ends. You get a 15-point bonus, and you keep playing till somebody wins. I just have the worst luck with the deck. I don't think I've ever gotten better than 5 cards. I wind up getting duplicates. I never get second chances when I need them, and Flip 7 can go burn in a fire, but I love it.
It's sort of game that I would never play with my core game group. It would just not come up as it's being such a light game, but it's perfect for the convention. Like we had a huge long table. I couldn't even talk to the people at the other end of the table. So it was a game that we were playing while having conversations around the table, and every so often to say hit me, and then like that's always satisfying. Yeah.
There was an aspect of like metagaming to it, like because it's a round based game, and you can kind of like even ignore the round limit and play as many rounds as you want to.
Mm-hmm.
Essentially, it's a very kind of like folk-y kind of like casual game. I find that basically you wanna hurt the players that are in the lead, right?
Yeah.
Because we're all feeling frustrated. Joe, I feel very much like you. I had bad runs with this game, and I think I had like 4 cards maximum, just getting repeats. My running premise was I'm going to play until I have 40. I have 40 points. I'm good. It's just devious, right?
It's
because
no point he's getting 20 points.
Yeah, the higher cards have the higher frequency of coming out, so of course you're going to get dinged from it. It reminded me a lot of a classic game. I think it is. I don't know if it's a Reiner Knizia. I think it's called Ink and Gold. Based on Diamant, I believe. And that game is very similar in the way that you have only 2 choices.
Stay or go.
Stay or
Stay or go.
Right? And this is very much the same thing with a few wrinkles. I think this game plays smoother. And I found that the Ink and Gold has a little bit of setup because you have to shuffle in a certain number of cards and you got to get the components right. And Ink and Gold, in my experience, always plays well when there's a sort of like a master of ceremonies, reading out the cards in a very dramatic fashion for everyone to see. But this one,
more theme in that, right?
You leave it up to the players.
Oh,
yeah.
Agreed. I think the best game of Ink and Gold I ever played, I think it was at a max 5 players, and then you're like counting cards at that point. It's like, is that second trap going to come up, or am I just going to we're at temple step number 4 and I've got like 20 gems. I'm like, am I gonna just run and collect my points, or am I gonna try and go for more? Like it's so much fun. Ink and Gold's one of my favorites.
Yeah, Ink and Gold is great. I think in a way is a superior game, not an easier to play game, but a superior design because you're really reading the other players, right?
Well, yeah, it's the
prisoner's
social element.
dilemma.
Yeah.
Are you gonna leave at the same time I'm gonna leave?
Yeah, exactly.
That part of it's cool.
Yeah.
But this game, Flip 7, I thought it was eminently easy to play. And it's like one of those games you said where you could play all night and not keep score, right? It's just for laughs.
And speaking of the Target Uno shaped box, I think that's Flip 7 is also getting a re-release in that same form factor now.
Wouldn't you know it?
Yeah, the box for Flip 7 is annoyingly large. Like, I was fortunate enough to get one of the promotional copies, and it's in like a double size, like playing card type box. they could have released it like that. It would have been perfect. The packaging was just over the top, I think.
I'm all for the small games. Like I said, Oink Games, I think Sea Salt and Paper is in a smaller package. Don't ship me boxes full of air anymore. We're past that generation.
Exactly.
I'll buy more games if they don't take up as much space. Promise. Let's make that happen.
There we go. Saving the environment.
Well, past the hour mark. Joe, did you have any other games you wanted to shout out quickly?
Yeah, I'll just go through other ones that I played that I really enjoyed. Did get a chance to play Sea Salt and Paper with Shannon and Matthew. Also great friends. Love them every time I see them. And I actually won that game because Matthew's a shark. If you've ever played Sea Salt and Paper with him, oh my goodness. I was surprised to win that, but super fun. Salt and Sea from Devere, that was another one on my shelf of opportunity that Abby and I got to play. Really enjoyed that. Want to play that at a higher player count. Great at 2, needs more. Duck and Cover was a cute game that Amanda Panda taught me. It's a fun little game where you have 12 cards, but you're combining them into piles, and if you get them into one pile you get negative points, but if you have piles left you get positive points. You're trying to score the lowest. Very, very cute little game. And then another game that Abby picked up from the vendors hall called Masters of Maple Syrup. Fun little 2-player dueling game where you're basically building a farm of maple trees and tapping them and getting maple syrup, but there's also tools that adjust and change your score. Really fun game for 2 people if you want to kill 20 minutes. It was really fun.
Yeah, we demoed that last year. That's the same publisher who did Downriver and Reforest that Mark was just talking about.
Okay.
I demoed those last year, and they had some really nice thematic touches. I've been looking to pick up the released version out now from local publishers. So, excellent. That was a good spread of games. I think we're just going to skip the dessert segment. We do have a couple of plugs to get through.
Well, I appreciate that. So, like I said, you can find me at PhantomMeeple everywhere the internet is sold, mostly on my Twitch channel. Coming up next week, I'm going to be doing a Kickstarter preview with Banana Chan. They have a trilogy of solo journaling RPGs that they're doing. They released Forgery last year, which is a fun little color by numbers soloing journal RPG, and I really liked it. Also a shout out for another organization I work for, Geek Girl Con. I actually did a live play with them at there, so if you check out the YouTube channel you can find that playthrough. Really fun. But the next game in that trilogy is going to be on Kickstarter, I believe, next month, and it's called Knockoff. So I'll be doing that at 11 a.m. Pacific on March 30th, so you can check that out on my Twitch channel. And then one more thing I will shout out is another thing I volunteer for is there's a local charity organization called Gamers Engage that puts on a charity tournament every year with Mox Boarding House in Seattle called the Gauntlet. A whole bunch of gaming companies come in. They raise money for a cause that the Gamers Engage picks every year, and it's huge names like Bungie sends a team. The Pokemon Company sends a team, Ravensburger sends a team, and there's always a theme of board games that they play. And this is the second year that I'll be doing the live stream commentary for that, and that will be in the middle of May. So check me out there.
Okay, I'll drop all those links in the show notes, so check those out. I was taking a look at Knockoff from Banana Chan, and it's about a cursed fashion design, I think.
Yes, yeah. So you play as a gay black man in New York City, and you basically get commissioned by this fashion company to recreate this design. But it's cursed, similar to the way the Forgery was. You're an up and coming artist in New York City, and you're commissioned to recreate this piece. But as you're creating this piece, you're actually resurrecting a demon. It's these stories are so off the wall, but it's a fantastic premise. And the third one of the trilogy is going to be really fun. I forget the name of it, but I don't think I'll get in too much trouble saying this, but it's going to be music themed. So I'm really curious to see how that works out.
Well, I saw a Knockoff though. You actually cutting up bits of fabric to sort of paste onto a sort of a
Yes.
fashion. I can't remember. It's like the paper dolls, basically, and you're cutting
Yeah.
up bits of fabric. And like,
That's
I
what
have
it is.
no fashion sense beyond black t-shirt jeans. But the beauty of these solo TTRPGs is to like explore new skills and new themes. Like I'm doing I'm mending right now, which is like sewing and embroidering. And when I went to pick up my buttons at the store, they had like these stacks of fabric, miscellaneous fabric, and I was like, "Oh, I could get one of those. What would I use it for?" But I can use it for a knockoff.
There you go.
Yeah, I was just I was gonna say Banana Chan's output has been very creative of late. Obviously, she was involved with the Shang-Chi.
Yes,
Is that the name?
Shang-Chi,
Shang-Chi with Senfun Lim, fellow Canadian designer, who we need to get on the show. But so many creative design ideas coming out of particularly solo RPGs these days, because I feel like they have like very little barriers, right? You can try out new things, because as long as you excite, a few dozen people, there's your audience right there. So I will happily check out those. Did you say, Joe, that they're going to be sold together?
So you can actually get Forgery right now from their website, Game and a Curry. I think you can probably get it as well through the Kickstarter. Don't quote me on that. I'll have all the details next week. But yeah, I think middle of April is when Knockoff is gonna come to Kickstarter.
Okay, and I realized I made a very terrible anti-Asian mistake. I said Shang-Chi instead of Jiangxi. Shang-Chi is the Marvel movie.
Oh,
so bad on me.
Shame on you, Mark.
Yes, shame on me. I'm really down there in the Asian points. It's Jiangxi. Yes. All right, awesome. That's really cool. Well, we will be happy to shout out those new segments when they're happening. So just give us a reminder, and we'll be happy to let people know.
Yeah, and one quick plug that I had is that another friend of the show, Greg Loring-Albright, who recently joined us for our Scum and Villainy episode, is actually coming to Vancouver next week. If you're listening to this on the day of release, you might have time to catch this, but he's actually going to be doing a talk at UBC on critical board game modification, changing board games to change the world. So yeah, very, very curious to see more discussions of board games being taken seriously as an artifact of cultural importance. And hoping to, I'll definitely be checking that out. I think you can watch it online. Hoping to get there and see it in person. So that's going to be the day after this episode's going live, if you're listening. Otherwise, you'll probably be able to find the recorded version.
Very cool. All right, let's leave it there. I want to thank you again, Joe, for joining us on the show. So great to see you a week ago in Vancouver, and maybe we'll see you again before 1 year's time at the next TCTC.
I hope so. Again, any excuse to come up to Canada, I'm there.
Our game room is open.
Yeah, you're always welcome.
I'll hold you to it.
Excellent.
So cool.
Well, if you have any thoughts on today's games or any other games that we've been playing, any suggestions, you can contact us and join the club at omnigamersclub@gmail.com or at our website, omnigamers.club.
That's right. And go check us out on YouTube. We post videos of our episodes wherever they come out. And if you caught us on YouTube, then go subscribe on a podcatcher of your choosing, wherever podcasts are found.
And you can follow us on Blue Sky. And I also am on Blue Sky as Board Game Feast.
I'm on Blue Sky as OmniGamer Mark. And Joe, I'm sure you're everywhere as?
I'm Blue Sky, Facebook, Instagram, at PhantomMeeple. You can find me everywhere.
Excellent. I'll drop those more links dropped in the show notes.
Awesome.
Well, thanks again for joining us.
That's right.
Appreciate it.
And until next time, everyone out there, I hope you have a balanced diet of gaming.
Bye.
Bye.